Hello and welcome. Today we are in the Grandstand with a W Series driver and a WEC driver for this year, Beitske Visser.
Yeah, hello.
Yes, so Beitske, we want to go through your career right now and what you're doing this year, but first we want to go through what you did in your early years when you first got into karting. I understand you were karting through your family and traveling with them in those early years of yours. Is that something that made you closer as a family?
Yeah, so my parents used to have a car dealership, so I was always around cars, and my dad used to do a little bit of racing just in Holland. So yeah, I pretty much just grew up around cars, and yeah, when I was 3 years old, I went to a go-kart race with him, and I saw a little baby kart there. And since then, I was begging my parents to get me one of those. And yeah, on my 5th birthday, I got it. So yeah, that's when I started driving.
So was there any other career choice or was it always going to be driving for you?
Yeah, I think I first got like a quad when I was 2 years old. So I was always had like these little step bikes, step cars that I drove around the workshop of my parents. So yeah, it pretty much grew up around cars.
So you go from going around the workshop to getting Red Bull backing. That must have been quite a feather in the cap. Was that something that was good for you, just to know that a big company like Red Bull are wanting to have a driver like yourself, a big vote of confidence?
I mean, yeah, obviously when a big team like that one wants to sign you, um, yeah, you're doing something right at least, and yeah, they give you a lot of backing, a lot of help to progress in your career.
So that's something I wanted to talk about. You got into the Red Bull junior team, and try as I might, I don't think I'm going to be able to. So what is it like when you get part of that junior team? Is it something they provide gym equipment, training, media training days? How is the day-to-day when you're in a junior team like Red Bull's?
They pretty much help with everything. They gave me a trainer, so I had daily training programs, training camps. I was going to the simulator to prepare for the races, and yeah, they got me a seat to race. So they pretty much sort you out with everything.
And does this all happen back at Austria at Red Bull's headquarters, or did you stay at home? How did that change for you on your day-to-day life?
No, I was still living at home, but yeah, I think a lot of teams have this. It's also in W Series is the same. You have like you speak online with your trainers to sort out the program like that.
And is home Sneek, is that where you live?
Yes, it's called Snake.
Snake, sorry, my pronunciation's dreadful. Well, in my research, I saw that Nick de Vries of Formula 2 fame and now Formula E, he's also from Snake. So with the two of you, there must be something in the water. What was it? Is there a really good go-karting track there or something?
Actually, there's no go-karting track around here anywhere. I think we just went out of the country pretty soon because Holland is a pretty small country. So yeah, I think Dutch drivers are just used from a young age to go to Germany, go to Belgium, go to Italy, and race everywhere.
Well, speaking of Nick, that's a great little segue because he's, of course, doing Formula E now, and you have done some Formula E testing back in the Andretti days. How is it driving one of those cars? At the time, you were doing some of the GT racing, and then you moved back into the single-seaters. How is it inside of the cockpit of one of those machines?
It was cool. It was very different to what I used to. The car's a bit heavier than normal Formula cars. And you drive around the street track, so it's a bit different, but it's cool. It's in the end, it's still a race car. You still got to push to go fast. You're just missing the sound, but yeah, there's so many things you need to do in the car, like managing the energy, how to do it in the quickest way. Yeah, I really enjoyed it.
Just going to say is, would a seat in Formula E be something you'd like to go for in the future?
Yeah, definitely. If I get the chance, then I would like to try it again.
Staying with Formula E then, Beitske, you hear on the commentary when you watch it that the drivers having to regenerate energy, and in Formula One, for example, you hear similar stuff, trying to conserve fuel with easing off the brakes or easing off the gas and then doing different braking lines. What's it like in Formula E? How are you doing that that's different? Because I understand there's a completely different way of harvesting that energy compared to other series.
I mean, in the end, it's not only Formula E where you have to save energy. Like in long distance racing, which I'm also doing now, we also have to save fuel sometimes. So what you kind of do is you start to lift earlier than you brake, but then you have to brake later than your original point, and that's where it gets tricky if you have to change that constantly. And then Formula E has the extra thing where you regenerate the energy. So you have to lift, regenerate, and brake. You have a lot of things to do. Just as long as you can prepare quite well in the simulator, it's quite easy to pick it up.
Quite easy. Well, it's a lot of talent, I think. But on the electric side, we've heard today, when we're filming this in January, that Jenson Button is introducing an Extreme E team. Is that something you've considered? You've got your Formula E background. Is going off-road something that you'd like to do?
I haven't really looked at it. I have never driven off-road, so I'm not sure about that, but it looks cool. Would be cool to try it once, but for the moment I have quite a busy program.
Yes, your year is already looking quite busy, and we'll come on to that. But sticking on your past at the moment, that you also joined the BMW Junior Driver Program, and that is separate from Red Bull's. Is there anything that's similar between the two giant car manufacturers, or giant companies, should I say? Is there anything that's similar between the way that they develop the drivers? Is there anything, on your day-to-day level that's similar or different? How was it at BMW?
The difference is that with Red Bull it was for Formula cars, and with BMW it was for GT cars. But other than that, it's very similar. They help you with a lot. They also give us a trainer to do a lot of physical training, and it's been really good as well.
I mean, I was watched the whole of the W Series 2019. Amazing season. Really enjoyed watching it. And obviously, your title fight with Jamie was the headline story of the season. So, how was it from your side? How did you feel the season went? And were there any sort of key moments that you felt tipped the championship to her and away from yourself?
For me, it's been a really cool year. I was away from formulas for a bit, so it was cool to get back into it. And just the fight with Jamie, but also with others, was cool throughout the year. Unfortunately, Jamie just won it, but hopefully next year I can improve a bit.
Yeah, I mean, because you were sort of pretty much with her all the way through, but when we spoke to Emma Kimmelainen, she mentioned that she felt like Jamie, because she'd been doing F3 racing like right up to the start of the W Series season, she felt like Jamie had that sort of slight edge over the rest of you. But then, obviously, as it got later into the year, you all sort of came up to that level. So, do you feel like that was probably the sort of key element for her winning?
I'm not sure. I mean, you never know what would have happened. I don't think about that, but I think going into this year, I'm better prepared because I've been driving LMP2 last year. I'll be driving LMP2 this year. So that car is very similar, and just every year I improve myself as well. So I hope I can start it off good right from the beginning, and then fight till the end.
Well, we hope so, yeah. And you won at Zolder last year, 2019. It feels like last year, doesn't it? How was Zolder for you then? Because I mean, that's a track that I drive on iRacing and Project Cars 2, and I've always really enjoyed to drive it. But what's it like in real life?
Yeah, I actually like the first couple of corners the most from the track. You can take different lines around there, which yeah, it's a bit driving style dependent. And then you got the chicanes where you want to take as much curve as possible, but with a Formula car, it's not so easy.
No.
You got to keep the car in one piece as well. But yeah, it's a cool track to drive, and with like the kind of faster corners in the beginning and then the chicanes at the end. It's I liked it.
Yeah, it's a nice mix, isn't it, around the lap? And you pulled one of the best moves of the season was your pass on Jamie at Brands Hatch. You were taking a bit of grass when you did that. That was that a bit of squeaky bum time for yourself when you were in the car doing that, or was it just easy to do?
Well, I knew if I wanted a chance at winning the championship, I had to pass her, and I knew I had nothing to lose. I mean, second place in the championship was safe. So I saw her made a small mistake, and I just went for it, and yeah, it paid off.
So was it look more breathtaking on TV than it felt in the car then, maybe?
Well, in the car, obviously, when I went in the grass, and when you see that massive board, I thought it was going to hit it, but I was like, well, as long as I have my steering wheel straight, I can keep it flat. So yeah, that's what I did.
That's something I actually wanted to ask, Beitske, that you spent a lot of time behind Jamie in the series, in W Series 2019, behind her at Assen, behind her at Misano. And did you learn following her that, the two of you been so quick and at the front? Did you learn from racing against her how to overtake her, or what was it at Brands Hatch that made you, get such an audacious pass?
Well, if I would have had a chance to pass her in Misano or Assen, I would have done it definitely. But yeah, she's quick as well. So you gotta with Formula cars, it's not always easy to follow another car. So you gotta kind of force the other driver into a mistake. And Misano and Assen, she didn't make a mistake, but in Brands Hatch there was a small one.
Speaking of that Assen race, it was great because there were two races, and one of them was the reverse grid race, no championship points, but it was reversed in order of the championship standings. And from us watching, it was phenomenal from start to finish. Is that something that you'd like to have back in 2021, a reverse grid race?
It was very stressful for me. I prefer to just start up front and drive away.
Yeah. I can imagine.
Again, with something we saw, at least on TV, it appeared that you guys in the W Series paddock got on particularly well. Is that something that I'm maybe misinterpreting? But it was a teamless environment. I remember you and Jamie, your championship rival in the final round, going around on a go-kart. It's a bit of a promo thing, but you genuinely do look to get on with each other. Is it something that's just so different in a teamless environment? Is it something you found difficult to get used to, something that you like?
Well, I think it's because the whole team environment is different, and we can all separate on track and off track pretty well. And like if you race in any other championship, it's if someone else from another team is faster, you can say, oh, they have a better setup on the car. Now we all have the same setup. We can all see each other's data, each other onboard video. So if you're slower, it's just you. So you have pretty much no excuses until you have unless you have like a technical error or something. So I think that makes us respect each other a bit more because yeah, you have less excuses.
Now, Gareth, I know you've got a couple of esports questions. I'll just take over with some of those.
Yeah, I watched the whole of the season, and you were phenomenal from the start, leading the way, and you're pretty dominant for the first half of the season before Marta caught up with you. I remember they said on the commentary that you were actually helping the rest of the field with the setups. Was that were you using your own setups, or were you using like one of the iRacing specialists like VRS or someone like that?
Yeah, so we wanted to have fixed setup for all the races. So I literally just downloaded some setups and made sure everyone had the same.
the esports league went to some legendary tracks, and I just wondered if there are any of those that are on your bucket list for this is a track I really really want to visit in the real world. The ones I did some research, and you're going to COTA this year, obviously the circuit of the Americas, but apart from that, Brazil, Watkins Glen, Suzuka and Bathurst, I think they're the only 4 that you haven't actually been to. And so which ones do you like the most, and which ones are you not that keen on?
All of them. I like
all of them.
I always like to go to new tracks, and actually on iRacing I seemed quite good around those tracks as well. So luckily we're going to COTA this year, but I would love to try out the other tracks as well.
Just a quick one from me, that you've got the sim racing and of course you go in a simulator. How similar is it for you in both of those situations? You're in the big team environment, that one's got a big the suspension and all sorts of telemetry, but an iRacing at home, what sort of similarities do you have between those two setups?
There's a lot of things that are similar. Like these simulators are so professional now, we can watch data and compare everyone. And like if you look at like brake shapes, turning points, the way you drive, it's quite similar to real life, at least the way I drive it. It's very similar in that way. The only thing you miss compared to real life is you don't have the feeling of G-forces, you don't have the feeling of speed. So it's easier to try things. Like if on the sim you tell me I need to take a corner flat, I'll do it on lap 1. In real life, I might not do it on lap 1. But like in terms of driving style and stuff, you can. I think it really helps me for the real world racing as well. Yeah.
And WEC has worked with Logitech, obviously, for the esports league. Have you upgraded your rig since then? Have you gone to sort of Fanatec or something like that?
Yes, I have Fanatec and Heusinkveld right now.
Oh, the Heusinkveld pedals, they're nice.
Yeah.
Lovely stuff. And are you direct drive or a club sport or the Fanatec?
I have the direct drive, the DD2.
Sticking slightly on the iRacing side, like every time I've driven the Formula Renault 3.5 in a simulator, I've always been blown away just how fast that car is. How's the real thing to drive? Because you did 3 seasons in Formula Renault 3.5. Is that the quickest car you've driven, or is it close to the Alpine LMP2 you're driving now as well?
It's definitely the quickest and the best car I've driven so far. It's pretty much like a Formula 2 car. It has the same pace. It has a lot of downforce and a lot of power, so it's just really cool to drive.
I bet, yeah. and does the LMP2 come close to that at all, or is that because those things have a huge amount of downforce and grip these days?
It pretty much has the same engine, so it's almost the same pace as a 3.5. This year they're gonna be a bit slower because some rule changes, but it's definitely super cool car to drive, and it's like a Formula car as well. It has a lot of downforce. It's a Formula car with a roof on it.
Yeah. Actually thinking about the roof, because I was at Goodwood a few years back, and they had the LMP1 there. I think it was at Porsche, and with the cockpit door open, I was like, well, how do you get in it? I mean, do they have like a pit crew run you in like legs first or something? It looks like it's really tricky to get inside.
It is pretty tight, yeah, and you have to do the bits quickly. You don't want to take the steering wheel off. So after the first race I did last year, my legs and my arms were completely bruised. But we've practiced since then, and now I can do it mostly without getting bruises.
Does it feel very tight when you're in there? Very claustrophobic, or is that okay?
You get used to it. I mean, when you sit in the garage and the doors are closed, then yes, but as soon as you're on track, you don't feel it.
unlike a lot of the drivers last year, you were very fortunate. You managed to get some real world racing in with the European Le Mans series. How did that come about, getting the drive with Richard Mille?
Well, because Catherine got injured in Paul Ricard, they needed a driver to replace her. And then I got in contact with them, and they let me try it in Spa, and then race by race, every time it depended on Catherine if she recovered in time. But I just continued race by race.
Is that something, Beitske, that you or your manager, you were looking to get in touch with them, or did they actually seek you out?
Well, obviously I had very good contact with the FIA Women in Motorsport already since many years ago. And I actually spoke to the team as well about the program before the season started. But with my 2 programs already for that year, it was a bit busy. But so there was already contact before.
Now, this year, huge year for you. You've got WEC for the entire season, and you've got W Series for their entire season. Busy year. So what is it that's going to make that a successful year from you? Every driver's going to say that they want to win it, but have you got any minimum expectations for 2021?
I mean, it's always racing. You never know what happens. But I just want to improve myself and continue from where I finished last year. And I hope that one place better in W Series. For WEC, we have no idea. We did ELMS last year, but now we're actually can prepare. Now I'm actually going to have some test days before the season, so that should make it a bit easier. And the WEC field seems very strong, but I just hope we can continue where we finished last year and just keep improving throughout the year and get some good results.
I was looking at that WEC lineup, and wow, you've got Juan Pablo Montoya, Felix da Costa, you've got Sebastian Buemi, some really big names. You must be excited or maybe nervous for going up against some of these top names in motorsport.
Yeah, I can't wait. I mean, if you see the name on those lists, it's pretty cool, and hopefully we can do a good job.
I'm sure you're going to as well. Now, Formula One, W Series, big news. You're supporting Formula One for 8 races this season. Now, we saw it on Twitter when this was announced. How was it that you found it? Was it the same as us? You just opened Twitter and thinking, wow, this is big news, or did you find out another way?
Well, we knew a couple days before, and we obviously knew that they were in talks about it. So I was already hoping for it, yeah.
And how was your reaction when you found out? Were you jumping around the room, or were you thinking, wow, I need to knuckle down and get into the sim?
The second one.
Always working, Beitske, always working. Now, I looked at the calendars, and I think you've got WEC at Monza on the same weekend. The W Series is at Silverstone. Now, W Series are racing on Saturdays. Is that something you can work around, or do you need to sacrifice one of those races to race in the other?
No, unfortunately, I have to sacrifice Monza. But that looks to be the only clash, so I just have to miss one race.
Now, across both of those calendars, you're going to some terrific venues. I mean, I was looking at them here. We've got Spa, Monza, although you're not going to Monza now, Le Mans, Fuji Speedway, Spielberg, Silverstone, Spa's twice as well, and then off to Kota. Have you been to all of the tracks on the calendars? Are there any ones that you haven't been to that you're really excited for? Which ones are you most looking forward to this season?
Well, there's quite a few new tracks for me. So I was very excited for Sebring. Unfortunately, that one is cancelled. So we go to Portimao, which is also a super cool track. I'm just excited for any track. I'm excited for Kota, Mexico, because there are new tracks. Zandvoort, obviously, having my home race.
Yeah.
I'm excited for Fuji, Spa. I can list the whole list now.
It's a cracking calendar. It really is. Now, You went to Assen in 2019 as a home race. You got Zandvoort this year as a home race. So, spot question, which of those two is the best track?
That's hard.
That's the hardest question. I don't know. I like them both. I think they're very different tracks because Zandvoort is a lot of up and down, and well, they're both high speed, but Assen is more flat, but it's more motorbike track, so you can use the curves more. And yeah, they just both have very different corners. I don't know if there's one corner which is similar at both tracks. So yeah, I like them both.
Yeah, I kind of hope that they don't ruin the Zandvoort character with because obviously they've had to make it sort of bigger and do those bank corners for F1. I've driven it on iRacing and it seemed like it's quite a narrow track before. Does it feel narrow when you're there driving it?
Yeah, it's not a super wide track, but I think it also makes it look tighter because there's no runoff.
Yeah.
I think that makes the biggest difference.
Yes, I've written off a lot of virtual cars around that one.
Me too.
It'd be quite exciting for you, Beitske, that you've got Zandvoort quite late in the season relative, and in the current COVID environment, that might mean you could have packed grandstands, hopefully, and then in particular with Max Verstappen in Formula One, that it should be really, really busy and a really big home race weekend for you. Something you're excited for, or? I
would just be super excited if fans would be allowed there. I mean, Max has a ridiculous amount of fans, so yeah, if they would be there, it would just become a crazy orange field. But yeah, I would just be excited.
Gareth mentioned also that we'd spoken with Emma Kimmelainen recently, and she mentioned that there's an existence of a W Series group chat that at the moment you're talking about helmet designs and so on, but she also mentioned that you send memes back and forth. So who is it, as a little spot question, that sends the best memes in the group?
Probably the British drivers.
You don't fancy getting on some of those reaction GIF memes yourself?
I enjoy it, but I'm not someone that looks those things up.
Well, Emma did mention that you are talking about helmet designs on that, and that is something I wanted to talk to you about because you've got your amazing colourful green, yellow, blue, white helmet and very, very distinguishable on track. And you also race with two different gloves. You've got a red glove and you've got a blue glove. So what's the backstory, I suppose, in particular on the gloves, but also that very, very colourful helmet? You're impossible to miss out on track.
I don't actually know how the gloves started. I have pictures from when I'm like 6 years old and I already had it, so I guess it comes from my dad. Yeah, I just kept it throughout my career, and yeah, I just believe it brings me luck. So yeah, that's why I'm doing that. And then the helmet design, I have the flag on the back with like the blue and red. That's from the area where I live. And the green and yellow, I'm actually born in a different area, and that area had green and yellow in the flag. So I like those colors. It looked a bit different than others, so I kept those. And yeah, my helmet painter just built a design around it.
Just to start wrapping things up then, W Series supporting Formula One this year, and you're doing races with Formula 3 and Formula 2. So is there anybody that you know in any of those series in the paddock that you're hoping, COVID dependent, hoping to spend some time with this year?
I mean, obviously it depends on the rules, and I guess we will be in the same paddock as F2 and F3. So I know quite some drivers there, so I guess I will see them around the paddock. And yeah, I have no idea how the paddock will be set up yet with the COVID rules and stuff.
And you've got your test for W Series at Valencia coming up soon, and you've also got your testing you mentioned in WEC. So busy couple of months for you. Must be getting excited to finally get back in the cockpit.
Yeah, I can't wait. I mean, it's been a long time since I drove the W Series car, so I'm looking forward to that one. Looking forward to jump back into the LMP2 car as well, and can't wait to get the season started.
Just thinking about your time with BMW in those early years, actually, that you were jumping between the GT cars and then you were going in the Formula 3.5, some GP3. So do you think that experience in jumping between the different sort of single-seaters and tin tops could give you an advantage this year, LMP and going into the W Series F3 car?
I think so, yes. I mean, the last couple of years I've been jumping between cars quite a lot. So I think always the first time you jump into a new car, it's not easy because you have to learn something new. But then afterwards, you just know, oh, I'm going to jump in that car, I need that driving style. I'm going to jump in that car, I need that driving style. And I think the simulator is also helping a lot with that, because one week I'm driving that car, next week I'm driving that car, sometimes driving different cars in one day. So it learns you to adapt very quickly.
And how is it when you actually get on the track? Is it really just like riding a bike that you just get a couple of laps and you're back in it and you know how the car feels?
Yeah, I think it takes like 2-3 laps and then you feel comfortable again.
Well, we are very, very jealous. There are very few people, very few drivers that get to be on the Formula One calendar and be doing WEC in 24 hours of Le Mans. And what sort of hopes, expectations have you got for Le Mans later this year?
Hopefully there will be fans around. That would be cool. I think this year we're going to have a test day, so that would make it a bit easier for us. And let's see. Last year we finished 9th, so we want to move up.
Of course you do it. It sounds like you're kind of not reliant, but you're really into that sort of fan involvement. Is that something that you were like when you were a kid? Or did you go to the Formula One races, Le Mans? Were you attending races? Is that why you like having the fans there?
I never actually went to a Formula One race, but I just hear all the stories from everyone about, like, especially Le Mans, how cool it is with all the fans. So I mean, last year we didn't have any of that. Which also made it maybe easier because we could just focus on racing. But yeah, it would be cool to experience that.
Yeah, well, Beitske, really, really good luck for both your W Series campaign and of course WEC, not something that we usually cover, but we're going to be looking out for you. So thank you so much for coming to join and speak to us in the Grandstand.
Thank you.
Yeah, and hopefully we can maybe have another chat to you later in the season, maybe in the mid-season break, and see how your season's going.
That sounds good to me.
Brilliant. Well, thank you so much, Beitske, and we will see you in the Grandstand next time.
See you.